Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to LEGO DC Supervillains. I exited it out, and honestly, it's been another large group of days. It's in between the last episode and this is becoming very standard. Noticeably, we are as the Cyborg movie version of Cyborg, which does point out that any DLC character is amongst the possibilities as far as who you will randomly spawn in as you load into the game. Not that that really matters too much, but it's something to take. I also had wished I'd left the game running to show that, yeah, it takes about 24 hours to 48 hours, but the spinning on these icons will have just increasingly more and more glitching, down to the point where after 48 hours it was completely stationary as far as the spinning icons. But if that is the only real bug in this game, is that if you leave it paused for 48 hours there's a visual glitch that actually doesn't affect much and you can fix it simply by exiting and relaunching, then that's perfectly acceptable. Well, almost perfectly acceptable. In a perfect world, there would be no bugs anywhere. So as far as this game, if I recall correctly, we have two more post-game play as the Justice League levels, which I assume are DLC levels, which does kind of make me wonder if these other levels here might be play as the Justice League, or play as random characters that are heroes before the story. And we have like 3 more of these, not 2 more, so wow, just a quick double tap and you I have to assume that you're supposed to hold the charge to get up to there, and even just like a half second seems to push you very high up, but not as high up as that was before. So I wonder if there's kind of a glitch there too, because that it really does, when it just randomly flings me like that, seem to put me very far. Yeah. I think there's probably some glitches around that. Plus, that's just a terrible concept, really, to have the characters being able to jump that high and leap skyscrapers in a single bound like Superman. And it would have made maybe some sense to give that one ability just to Superman and nobody else, but it would have also made a lot of sense to just leave it on the cutting room floor, because it really just breaks the idea of the 3D open world.
Had saved Superman. Well, Bats has been busy playing his usual detective gig, trying to track down your main woman. Yeah, wonders herself. But the man in black surrounds. Rookie mistake in this business. His little team had wandered right into my personal favorite hangout on Apocalypse. A female fury bears. Oh, I can shiver just thinking about it. These girls, they spend every waking hour brawling, honing feral instincts into warrior smarts. Yeah, I dig that place. Bats, true to his detecting skills, finds wonders. Only she's looking a little more than usual, which is my made her all the more rockin'.
So apparently, there's a whole collection of female furies on Apocalypse, and instead of making them a collection of bad guys, they would give you at least one more level, if not 3 levels, to fight around in. We're getting it in this DLC level, and it sounds like Wonder Woman's been brainwashed to be a female Fury too. At a certain level, it almost feels like in the DC universe that Apocalypse should just be the default bad guy, and all the enemies should be coming from Apocalypse, or the default bad guy location. And yeah, I guess that would have worked if early in some reboot they just said Apocalypse was directly at war, a long-running war, with which one of these? I guess he can control plants. Interesting. I don't know why Aquaman could control plants, but whatever. This idea of having a target that you stand on so you can target other things is an interesting thought. That is definitely a concept that could have been introduced in
I should be able to deal with this.
Lego video games, but honestly with the reboot of the Skywalker saga, I kind of feel like every gimmick, every idea is probably been thrown out the window in favor of just doing new gimmicks and new ideas and having more cover-based first-person shooting or third-person shooting, really.
What are you waiting for? Get him!
Not so fast, Justice. You want your precious Amazon back? You'll have to deal with the female Furies.
Yeah. Let's see you try and get past us.
Like that's gonna happen.
Interesting. I could not move at all there, even though it was saying tap
Get
B.
away.
Notice how the camera here is very different, and this is where I suspect the standard Lego game developers just come into conflict with the idea of these arena levels, in that there's just a lack of communication here as far as where the cameras would be and how this angle would all go. And see, this does feel much more in line with what you would expect from a Lego game, to be closer, to have the camera a little bit closer. Actually, it's probably a little too close, even in this case, but
You got zero chance against us. Give up! You're through now!
so now the camera's zoomed out a little bit further for this fight, which if anything it just feels fairly inconsistent. So we're getting like these prompts that say tap B. I don't know if that's someone specifically is supposed to be able to do that, or and there we've got a red brick, which that seems really crazy that you would have. Like, it's rather crazy to have a red brick in an arena fight, and it just really highlights how the arena fights are just not designed with anything as anywhere close to so the tab Bs are to throw explosive batarangs around to destroy the silvers. We don't have anything Yeah. We can't fly the other one away. So there probably are some silver things somewhere around here. Meanwhile, you have Stompina just stomping you, and just doesn't seem like there's too much you can do here. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be solving something or blowing something up. I guess I was supposed to be blowing something up.
Hey, what do we got over here, huh? Nice craft work. Really speaks to me. What are you thinking, huh? Okay, enough games. Take them down already.
And you can see the disconnect there from like just a Lego solution of building something and destroying things and the arena fighting system, which is just wait until they get dizzy or are vulnerable in some way and then punch them.
Go get him, Harriet.
It's a real challenge, huh? Good. This one's for
See,
you.
inevitably
Really
what you
think you'll
want
win? You're even
is
better than I am.
some backstory that we would get in a comic book,
You little pet.
and you're not going to get that until you like unlock the
For
characters.
that, just you wait.
Better luck next time. Let's stop and show you how it's done.
Yeah, and I guess the only way
Go toe-to-toe with
you would
Stomper.
get this kind of backstory
I gotcha.
is that you would have the enemies get researched or talked about more. Meanwhile, now we have once again a Lego solution. So doesn't it just feel like it would make a lot more sense to not be able to defeat them by punching in the first place, and have punching just be the fighting mechanic
Like that.
for
Went down for the count.
minions, but bosses just being vulnerable?
Knocked some sense back into wonders. So them heroes have done another real number.
If
of
that were the
ranges
case,
deep.
then you would always consistently know you have to solve a
Logan
puzzle,
don't worry about anybody but himself.
and
I
then
back whoever be paying the bills.
you wouldn't get into this ridiculous situation where enemies have a really high amount of hearts. Just an incredibly small amount of square footage in that level. And we got a red brick, but odds are highly unlikely that a DLC red brick is going to unlock any of the score multipliers or anything like that. Well, I'll be darned. Okay. I suspect studs times 8 would be too expensive to purchase, but since we have that as an option, it doesn't make any sense to go any further without seeing if we can purchase that now. There always seems like there's one more character that you can't unlock unless you play it in free play. Alright. So this is going to be weird as far as just how would you naturally get to the location you're looking for. Let's see. To teleport back, to Earth boom tube. set that as our map point, I guess. We'll just see how much we can fly. So here's each of the Furies. Stompa. Although we didn't fight Big Barda. Interesting, they have a little loading sequence here, letting you fly around, but noticeably no studs in the boom tube, nothing to do there. They're just really trying to hide the fact that there's nothing, that there's a lot of loading there. Let's see. That's not what we want to do. Striker's Island. Is that not where we buy red bricks? Guess not. It's probably there. And just for YouTube's sake, I guess we'll just fly there. You can certainly see now that you have characters that can fly, how this overworld map had to be scaled down, probably because of their engine just not really being designed for an open world 3D environment in the first place. But when you have so much verticality, you either do something with the verticality or you have characters flying around for no good reason. Okay. Let's see if this takes us where we want to go. Noticeably, the character doesn't even, your companion character doesn't even walk close to you. So there's a whole Atlas Labs, which looks a lot like the Atlas Labs
Watch
level.
out down there! You don't want me spilling my white paint on your white lab coats now. It's stained.
Okay. How do we interact with this stuff? Seems like if we get those three items, we might get a red brick or gold brick. But that may not be where we need to go to purchase a red brick. In fact, we might be in the absolute wrong place. I do suspect that Atlas Labs is the right name for the lab, and they changed the name in the CW Flash show to Star Labs, which I think was a different laboratory, although that does say Star Labs in the background, so maybe there's just some confusion there. Let's see what this does. Okay, here we are. So to buy studs times 8 is 50 million. So it's probably I assume 100 million for times 10, and then just cheaper and cheaper for each one below that. Which means this is all just a waste. But we did need to check that. If you leave your progress in this area will be lost. Do you want to continue? Yes. Continue. And so then we're just boom tubing back to Apocalypse. And inherently, that does just point out that we need to play the levels in free play before we do anything in the open world, because everything we do in the open world is going to excuse me, it's going to give me studs. It would make a lot of sense, frankly, if they had just added Apocalypse onto the map itself instead of having two different areas. I just collected a lot of studs when I jumped in that circle, which it doesn't really make the most sense because I don't have attract studs enabled. Okay. So we might be in a weird position now where we're gonna struggle to find this level. I guess it's probably down this way, so we'll just fly in a somewhat decent direction and see if we can find it. You can definitely see how once you can fly, there's just going to be a lot of areas. A lot of different places you can go. I don't know if these ghost things are pushing me in the right direction or if these ghost things are pushing me just back to the boom tube location. And here we have a safe, getting back to the idea of the DC supervillains stealing things and breaking things, which that certainly will complicate the open world quite a bit. Inherently, though, we are very, very far off now from playing as the let's see if we can just zoom in maybe, and then that will let us select this. Guess we can set the map point that way. That will at least point us somewhere close.
Little help over here. You look like one of the good guys. Don't you recognize me? It's Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best and some might say only friend.
So yeah, we've got a Jimmy Olsen thing there. Side mission open world thing. So they might decide in the open world to have some things
on me this time around.
where you play as superheroes to rescue people, and then you can only do evil things as a villain, and so you might have to jump back and forth because of that. But I guess first things first, we just need to finish these stories and see if it unlocks something else.
So back for the space chumps. They managed to get the band back together. They figured that's the most likely place to get any answers as to why they're here. So the Super Friends were gonna need some serious firepower to knock a hole in that thing. My kind of logic. Man, now that's what I'm talking about. Sure, it's surrounded by space dogs and needs juicing up, but that's where all the fun's at. As ever, the flying mouse got a plan. Beats me where he got his blackboard from. He wants those three to get that mega cannon juiced up without waking up that monocled fruitcake and his pets. My money's on the doggies. I'd love to see him use fish guy as a chew toy.
It would make a lot of sense to either have your custom character or Harley Quinn just hanging out with the Justice League.
Cannon over there. We gotta try and figure out a way to repair it without giving away our position. You got it, Lantern. Sheesh. This place sure could use a little cleaning up.
Agreed.
Ooh, how about a nice water feature?
So it does look like there are slightly more things to do on this level. Even amongst themselves though, these levels are like fairly inconsistent in their size. Yeah, I assume no superhero can do the graffiti thing. I would bet that's just absolutely only enemies. And I would assume Booster Gold is painting here. Nope. Doesn't seem like you can do anything with that. Obviously a score times 8 multiplier would make getting true villain very easily. Although I'm not sure in these levels if it even makes sense for it to be called true villain instead of being called true hero. Let's see if this guy can grab things. Where'd our other guy go? He is stuck over here behind the wall. There's a lot of junk, and it certainly would make a lot of sense that there would have just always been a lot of junk in every Lego level, in every Lego game. Most levels do have just a bunch of stuff. And it doesn't matter that it's repeated content. Most video games have a lot of repeated content. And particularly having things to smash. In a Lego game makes a lot of sense. Although then you run into the weirdness where obviously these canisters are going to blow up at some point, so you can't have them destroyed by simplistic means, because there's going to be a more scripted reason for that. Now this guy can hover down, but doesn't seem capable of flying. We very possibly are playing out of order. And it still feels like you're going to run into a situation where we'll end up fighting a boss in a boss fight. Green Lantern apparently can see through these. Let's see. Do we have anybody that can destroy silver? I'd say probably not. If somebody was going to be able to do it, it would be the cyborg character. We're really only halfway done.
Right? What was that? Oh, it's them! It's them! Quickly! Attack! Attack!
What was that about giving away our position? Yeah, my bad.
So we fix it, put it together.
Whoa! Look out, guys! I don't think he wants to play fetch. I just hope it's not feeding time.
So now we've got the annoying heartbeat of this dog that seems to be our real character to fight. And I don't know if I'm supposed to do anything over in these areas or if these are just extra free play level sections. Inevitably, because you can fly, you can go anywhere, which means the game's concept of kind of limiting where the player can go so that they know what to do is thrown out the window, particularly in this game compared to other LEGO games. It was kind of the genius of the original LEGO games, the LEGO Star Wars games in particular, where if the story was that C-3PO or R2-D2 went through an area, well then you can make a level where the places that C-3PO and R2-D2 can move are fairly limited, and then you can have a bunch of doors and a bunch of higher areas that... I guess I am just supposed to fight this guy. Probably just wait until he gets stationary and hit him. Doesn't really feel like there's anything more to it than that.
That took care of that beast. Now we can... Wait, there's another one! Heads up! Oh,
Yeah,
great. Here
that
we go
was
again.
awkward, to say the least.
That did it. But we still need to get these goons off our backs if we want to build a cannon.
Yes. Perhaps a distraction is required.
We're
Let
building
us see
something
if we
off
can
screen at
create
this
one.
point. We
Wait.
built...
Are we really sure that dude's gonna fall for a fake replica of Granny Goodness?
Granny Goodness! Is that you? Quickly! Stop attacking! Everyone! Stop attacking!
Huh. Apparently so.
That did it. Let's get back to work before anyone realizes what's happening.
Forgive me, Granny! I did not know you were down there. May I ask what you are doing in such a place?
Well, never you mind what I'm doing. What are you doing?
Interesting that there's a jump and a spring there. That's definitely an interesting concept that they haven't done in any other LEGO game.
Yes, yes, you're entirely correct, of course, Granny. I will find them immediately.
Yes. See that you do.
Would have made a lot more sense for that conversation to be more of a cutscene face to face. Right. And I assume the idea is that we were getting our guy over here because he needs to get even further.
Oh yeah! I got it! Another job well done by the half-man, half-machine, all-hero, Cyborg.
So hitting that switch opens this up. Jim probably has us play as the Green Lantern again. Seems like this is, well, that's an awkward visual.
Better leave this for someone else to handle.
Seems like that's a kind of simplistic timing game, but I could see kids struggling with it also.
Can't fire until it's charged. That's gonna take at least a moment or two.
And what are we specifically shooting? I have no idea.
Excuse me, Granny, are you still down there? I believe we may have... Wait, that is not Granny!
Uh-oh. Sure it is. I just tripped over my favorite.
Go! Go! Get them! Get the heroes! Get them now! Oh.
So now we've got the heartbeat again with the dogs. So I guess we're supposed to see if the dog is still running around. The dog clearly not really programmed that well, and they're always doing this flying around, or running back and forth, not flying around. And now we've got the heartbeat of the other guy, the boss character, beating in my ears as a sound effect. And we did get true villain, even though we're playing as the heroes, which it's fine to stay consistent with the terminology. And now we have just a full cutscene. And we have a picture that's basically showing us nothing. I'm afraid this may have somehow glitched. The thing I think I'm supposed to do here is hop in here and then press X. And what am I firing at?
Looks like Bats was onto something there. The only bad news is Aqua Guy didn't get turned into fish sticks. I guess I should have figured that, given he made it off Apocalypse. That guy with the monocle will have some serious explaining to do to the real old Granny when she finds out those goofs got past him and used that sweet cannon. That sure is a big gun. I wonder if I could borrow it.
And you can definitely see how Lobo is not really playing any real part of the story. So him being the narrator seems odd. Although in all fairness, Lobo just not showing up as one of the bad guys seems like an oversight in the first place, so maybe we'll do this final post-story mission and it will unlock Lobo as a playable character. We didn't find a red brick, which it would have been kind of nice if we had done that. And there's very little motivation at this point to focus on playing as the or focus on collecting gold bricks. Yeah. A lot of load sequences here, which honestly you could hide those load sequences better if these levels were a little bit longer. So now it's Prometheus and Vandal Savage. And let's see. Looks like the last battle is going to be up there. Vandal Savage not able to fly, nor Prometheus being able to fly. So we'll just walk. Boy, that seems like that's something. I don't know what that was, though.
She won't be getting the stomp on me this time around.
That was just one of, I guess, the collectibles in the overworld, which we may need to find in a detector, an item detector, if there's a lot of those. Did we miss it? Go this way.
Yet another image of our glorious overlords.
They definitely are putting a lot of these missions in specific spots that you would walk by quite a bit. So I imagine most of these missions or open world challenges are fairly easy to find. And we're not going to run into a situation where there's one last thing to do and we have no idea where it is. Lego games have been particularly good about avoiding those situations.
Maybe sometimes I think there's more to being the universe's main man than shooting stuff. So that's why I shred. I think it shows a different side. Yeah. Hey, I ain't getting paid to teach you how awesome I am. You know that already. So continuing with this flashback. Remember the plan? Those guys shoot the gun, get inside. Yeah, I knew you were listening. So that just leaves these guys to take care of business. See if they can't get a meeting with the guy that runs this boiler room.
I have no idea who the purple guy is there. On the right. I assume he's just yet another Apocalypse bad guy.
Whoa! Good going, guys! That's one way to make an entrance.
It's up to us now. Let's get to work.
So we got a whole bunch of silver stuff. Potentially blow up. Like, it would kind of make a lot of sense if in a year one story in the DC universe, somebody, Batman or somebody like Batman, just like accidentally committed some horrific terroristic type act on Apocalypse. And that started Apocalypse to be at war with Earth, and there'll be a decent justification as to why they're at war with Earth and why they're fighting all the superheroes in general. Or you could even get a little bit more complicated, and this probably doesn't work great for the villains of Apocalypse, but if there was a planet that said superheroes are a threat to all of the universe because they are so incredibly overpowered compared to average humans / aliens, therefore whenever we detect superheroes or supervillains on the planet, they always go to seek out to destroy them. And so the very nature of all the superheroes is just a threat to the rest of the universe. That is a better motivator, certainly, in my mind, than having one character looking for the anti-life equation and one character being looking for Infinity Stones and just generic power.
Heads up. Sure didn't see that coming.
Let's investigate. There may be something we can use.
Wonder if there's something more that you can grab here. by using it twice. We really haven't seen that gimmick done. Of all of our characters, does anybody potentially have telekinetic powers? I don't think any of them would. Superman has laser eyes, so we can break that. The skeleton is not destroyable. So it constantly seems like it just gives you bicycles. Superman's frost breath can take on that. And you would think Superman's giant strength would let him pull giant things, and that seems like that's the case.
Place. Why would anyone want to live in a giant, creepy old castle like this?
Why? What's wrong with that?
Let's see where this takes us. This is going to be one of those puzzles again where I'm going to have to get like way higher. Let's just see what happens when we walk past here. See, that may just be an extra thing. Not worth doing.
Didn't expect to run into something like this. I can't use it.
So the level just ends on this side.
I should take this in case it falls into the wrong hands.
And then that platform, maybe this guy can go through. Nope. It's a little awkward, certainly, to have... That looks like a silver thing, but I guess it isn't. It's a little awkward to have a level just end. And by the number of studs we have, it feels like this is a longer level. So there's probably a whole nother section. And yeah, it seems like the only... solution was to maybe get him out of the way
They really
first.
shouldn't have gone to such trouble.
We'll just punch him and see if we can knock him off the ledge. Nope. And so instead we're doing the Speed Force thing. Which this animation, just tapping X and then going to zoom, probably was more than enough. I have a heavy suspicion that these running in the Speed Force mini games actually just finish after a certain number of turns, and that you don't really have to collect all the Speed Force things. There might also be an achievement for avoiding running into objects, if you could do it completely, but that would be fairly demanding. And there's really only 3 paths there. It's left, right, or middle.
Another challenge? Perhaps our host was expecting us after all.
Nothing
So we have a real puzzle here that I can see people struggling with. Green, red, blue, yellow, blue, green.
Nice work, team.
Wow. Is that an actual compliment from Batman? This really is a real thing.
Have you heard the tale of a wondrous man? His mere presence can make you nervous. An assassin like no other can. It's me, Canto, at your service.
Interesting.
Let's see you survive this.
We're losing ground with
Seems
studs.
they're prepared for all eventualities. I'm actually kind of impressed.
I guess because characters are dying. Feels like we've got maybe some special music playing. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're just supposed to swap somebody or what. This might be more of an idea that you're supposed to just wait and swap in different characters. In a lot of ways it would kind of make sense if there was a boss that made you just swap between the different characters just to have you play as different characters, although honestly it would make a lot more sense if
Come now. You truly believe you can defeat me?
it would make a lot more sense if like Thanatos or Thanos would grab one character and then you would have to swap because of that. And again we have a camera puzzle here, but
The man dressed like a bat who fought crime to make his amends. Dour and grumpy and boring in chat. That's why he doesn't have any friends.
so we're just listening to him rhyme, I think, and avoiding taking damage. Although, noticeably, not really taking that much damage. And that really was just timed.
I won't be defeated so easily. Now you will fall.
So you just wait until he's done attacking. I don't think there's really anything more you can do.
This is the best you can do. I had expected so much more.
We're waiting to hit the right one.
You insolent little...
A lady fair and a beautiful, yet fierce with such brutality. In her passion colors red, white, and blue, but she's more Miss Congeniality. A man so quick, a phenomenon, he moves at an incredible rate. A glance, a flash, and he's down in a
So what you're supposed to do is just run around in circles. Which inherently I don't like the idea of the LEGO games just encouraging random circle running.
You'll regret crossing paths with me, Havoc.
Feels like there should be some way that you could have stopped him from attacking earlier, or some goal at least, instead of avoiding laser attacks. Yep, it definitely feels like he should have been the main focus of all these DLC levels.
Shot down with his own
Did
That Kanto maybe should have thought about skipping the singing and just done been better at guarding the palace. So these clowns finally get to where you guys met back up with them. Bursting in on Darkseid mid-rant and wanting answers. What's the deal, you great mook? So that's me done. I filches in, and now I needs a nap. No, I ain't dishing out no spoilers for how it all turns out. They ain't paying me enough for that. Get out of here, you crazy kids. Ain't you got somewhere else to be?
What's weird about these levels in particular is it feels like you should have been able to do those levels when you first arrived at Apocalypse, and it while that may have been a possibility, I definitely didn't see that happening. It also feels like this DLC should have just happened if you had it in a more proper order instead of being a flashback sequence. The fact that there was a red brick for score times 8 in this DLC levels too also really highlights that the main game itself was shortchanged. That being said, those levels were way shorter and worse than even what we had before. And so now we've been spawned back on Earth. So there was obviously some logic to that. And so now there is a desire to have us fly around the open world. So Ring of Fire is an Atlantis arena. This is Aurum Showdown. This is Santa Prison. This is Liberty Place. This is Philadelphia. This is the Gotham Expo. So, are those levels? Something we can access? Or are those levels that we have to fast travel to? It'd be kind of helpful if there was a better legend. And it would be fairly helpful, I imagine, to check out this area too. I guess in all fairness, let's just check that out and see what we can do. So now you have this weird situation, certainly, where if you're going to play as the DC supervillains, then you really need to get back into the GTA mentality of stealing cars and driving, because very few of these supervillains are going to have a flying ability, and that is going to push you to play as very few characters in general if you go down that path. Just kind of a very arbitrary split in the road there. sounds like there might be something going on in these caves a little bit more. And then you have a very creepy environment as we're heading towards Arkham Asylum. Let's make sure we still have somewhere to go. Obviously they want this to feel a certain way, and this may not be particularly the most kid-friendly. So, by going there, that really just tells you that we could now fast travel to Arkham Asylum, and that there was a couple characters and a couple gold bricks. Is there another location as far as DC Johnny? It does seem like there might be another way to get to this point. No, I think we've scanned all the DC Johnny locations. Not really a lot of them. Alright, well then, what we'll do is, storyline wise, makes a lot of sense to do Ring of Fire, the final battle of the summit, Sylvania Escape, Sylvania Showdown, Mask of the Phantom. I imagine none of these DLC levels, additional content stuff, is going to have red bricks or in any way is going to matter. And the actual story stuff just seems weird. Seems like these blue levels probably should have been maybe between Gridlocked and Apocalypse WoW. Maybe somewhere closer in between this section too. And honestly, those blue levels could have been in the middle of the whole story. So, yeah. It makes all the sense in the world to... I guess I am missing a map point. That seems weird. How could I be missing a map point? Ah, there's one here. Well, actually I don't care enough to go back and do that. Alright, so it really makes a lot of sense to do the free play after we get at least score ×2 unlocked on red bricks, which inherently maybe we'll get to a point where after doing these extra levels and then doing all these other levels in free play, we'll need to find a red brick that points to other red bricks or points to gold bricks or things like that. But logically it would be a lot nicer if we were able to just run around the open world right now. But if I run around the open world and collect a whole bunch of stuff, it's not going to give me studs. And that's what I need more than anything, is I am at 2.6 million studs right now, and I need 50 million studs for score ×8. You're just not going to get that high with the amount of content that's left, unless you start getting score ×2, let alone spending a bunch of studs to unlock a bunch of these characters, which I suspect there isn't that many more characters left to unlock. Some of these, well, a lot of these almost certainly are behind open world things that we'll find. Alright. Percentage wise though, we still are in a very weird position, and apparently we have something new for the customizer. Or maybe the customizer was a new concept added as DLC later on, or updated in the game later on, which would be weird if that was the case. Yeah, I suspect that's not the case, because that would be very, very weird, since all the other Lego games have custom character creation by default built in. But yeah, percentage wise, as we look here, we're not moving very fast at all, on top of me getting distracted and taking lots of breaks in between each episode. Yeah, it does seem like there's very little progress as far as getting mini kits and unlocking characters and red bricks and gold bricks and spray painting. I suspect once we have all the gold bricks, that will be the only point in which we can have all 9 of the statues done. And once we have all 9 of the statues done, I wouldn't be surprised if that's some point where we change the nature of the open world and potentially studs will just start falling from the sky, raining on you. Or maybe it will do very little. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. There's a bunch of social media and support links down below in the description if you want to help me further. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.